All right, so let's talk about it. For me, when I understood what intuition was, it took me a few years to really figure it out. And I want to say it actually happened when I was in church for the first time. I will say for the first few months, I began to understand my intuitive abilities a little bit more. I just knew that I could dream, which was one of the main things that I was able to know for sure. But seeing and feeling energies, I always felt like that. I always felt there were energies around me all the time, but I couldn't place it. I didn't have anybody to help me with it. And I kept hearing a song. I always feel like somebody watching me. Literally all the time. When I was in college, I would hear it all the time. And I'm like, okay, somebody's watching me for real. Which kind of like pushed me to not do a lot of the things that college students do. But I've always had the intuitive abilities. I've always felt like um Raven, that's a Raven from the TV show, um, from Disney TV show. So it was a lot of that, those open visions. But I, again, did not have anybody to help me with it and help me understand what it was. So and in church, that's when I began to understand because a Bible verse that was said a lot was my sheep know my voice and a stranger he or she will not follow. So that is what I held true because I'm like, okay, so you do have a voice, God, and now it's time for me to recognize the voice for my now. Now it's time for me to recognize your voice and understand who you are to me and how I'm connected. So as I began my journey, which I call going to church and having that awakening, is also a spiritual awakening for me. And for many people, just going to church is an awakening because I've been in church all my life, but not this type of church. So that led me to understand God in a different way. I began to dig a little bit more and pay attention to the different cues and trusting the voice. I really trusted the voice when I was in church. That is where I began to really trust and understand who God was and saw the responses, when I did connect. Because I learned quickly it's not about religion, it's about the relationship with the energy, the God energy. So that's one of those spaces where I actually learned about my intuition of hearing and seeing things and making makes sense of a lot of things I was foreseeing. I had a lot of premonitions. I foresaw um, when someone was being unalived, or I foresaw how someone passed away, or I foresaw things that would happen, the hurricanes, tornadoes, natural disasters. I foresaw a lot. I even foresaw like the school shootings. It was just, and I couldn't place it, I couldn't understand it, but I would just go into prayer and pray for the things I was seeing, but I couldn't disclose a lot of that stuff. I couldn't, when I did speak on it, it was me being told that didn't have the abilities. And I'm like, I cannot understand why would I not, God doesn't love me enough to have these abilities to flow in the abilities. It's just a lot of things didn't make sense to me, but I began to learn in that space to trust the voice. And I didn't understand beyond that what was happening. It was just that I was told you're very prophetic and, you know, just you hear the voice of God. And I'm like, okay. And that's all I had, but I didn't have anything beyond that. I wasn't a prophetess. That's what I was told. I wasn't an apostle or any title that the church gives. I didn't have that type of gift. So I went along with it. And maybe year three is when the voice got a little bit louder for me to really pay attention because at this point I was trusting the voice more and more. And so once I got out of the space of the church and still listening to that voice, voice led me to another awakening and the spiritual journey began, a new spiritual journey began. And then I began to understand what clairs were because I never heard of that. I never heard of clairaudience and clair sentient, clairvoyant. I never heard of any of it. So as I began to dig a little deeper, and learning that I was truly a psychic medium and began to understand what the clairs were, and then realizing once I did understand it that I literally have all of these clairs activating or activated. Once I have accepted the fact that I'm not losing my mind and I'm not tripping, I'm not crazy, I began to see where a lot of those clairs made sense to me. I am clairaudient because I'm hearing the voices. I'm clairvoyant because I'm seeing things. Clairalience, I think, was the last thing that I began to feel because or smell because I did have a loss in my family, and the energy would come to me with that smell. I didn't know that that's the connection, I didn't realize that was a connection. So those of you that can smell cake or smell gasoline or smell cigarettes, it's usually the energy of a loved one, a past loved one, or a transition loved one coming by to say, hey. So I didn't have uh the understanding at that time, but it just kept happening more and more frequently. And I had to put two and two together and say, wait a minute, this must be a Claire. And so from that point is when I'm realizing, okay, you know what, Ermi, there's something more to this. So for a lot of you guys probably really don't understand how to even start tapping into that. And what kind of led me to tap in is when I began to meditate. And meditation is one of the main things that can help you get going, get the clairs to strengthen. Mindful meditation. That's my AC, guys. So mindful meditation. And for me, I had to do a lot of guided meditation because, again, I could not quiet the voices in my head. I could not distinguish which voice is which. I thought it was all the same voices, all the same voice, but it was to a point where it's like several different voices, and the voices are connected to certain people in my life, and my higher self. A lot of it I just did not understand. So practicing mindful meditation helped me big time, and I had to force myself to practice it. And I would do a 5-minute guided meditation, which I also share with my students in mediumship because it really helps. It really helped me a lot. And now that I'm like 2 years in, 2.5 years into medium, being a professional psychic medium, um, I haven't had to force myself to meditate because I literally could sit and reset myself and be grounded. And then I can go ahead and channel and connect with past loved ones or connect with any energy. So, another thing that I can recommend or I've began to do understand with my clairs is to trust my intuition, to trust it. Trust is a major, major key to a lot of this. Trust what you hear because the energies, they connect telepathically. They can connect. We're able to, the veil is so thin that we're able to easily connect. But a lot of people are so afraid that they just, put themselves in this state of fear when the energies are trying to connect. So I'm at a space where I can trust what's happening. I trust my spirit team to always allow the greatest and best energies to come through, keeping my frequency and my vibration high. So I always want high vibrational energies to come at all times to give healing to those that are looking for healing. So trusting my gut and trusting spirit, and spirit trusts me with the information that I give. So I'm appreciative of spirit, and connecting with spirit is just amazing. It's just amazing. So also I would also keep like a little log, a journal, or something to keep up with what I was doing. I took a lot of notes and would take moments to read. I will always try to read more and also learn from other people, only being guided by spirit. Um, Spirit also teaches me as well. So I'm grateful for that as well. And then I always, find ways to connect and ground. I ground all the time. I go outside, I put my feet in the grass, I connect with the earth's energy, I connect with the sun and the moon and, the elements. I am definitely in a space to connect at all times. I always try to ground myself because in a meditation or sitting in the power, I literally, my spirit self, I feel my spirit self, levitate and, can possibly, I'm not going to get you guys worked up, but possibly astral project. I have astral projected many a time. So, but that's not the discussion we're going to talk about today. But um, I have been able to keep myself grounded, that Bible verse. And I may say a lot of Bible verses through here because, again, the Bible was kind of rooted in me growing up. So, one of the Bible verses that stuck out, or for the moment of grounding, or for the purpose of grounding, um, you can't be so heavenly minded that you're no earthly good. So you have to have a balance. You have to balance yourself. And for me, with meditating and grounding and keeping myself with a certain frequency, dancing and laughing and be authentic with myself, it causes me to show that I am able to connect with spirit in a beautiful way, So that that's a few ways that I've able to unlock my intuition. So I give you guys a challenge to unlock your intuition. I will use playing cards to focus on the energy of the card, and then see if I can intuitively receive the message or what's on the flip side of the card. And I do that with a deck of Uno cards or a deck of playing cards or even my tarot cards. Um, and I tend to enjoy doing that. And it helps strengthen the muscle of my intuitive abilities. And it also helps me know that I can trust spirit a little bit more when I practice what I'm hearing from spirit. And I think spirit definitely loves when I do that. So let's go ahead and play a quick intuitive game. So I have my deck of cards here. These are tarot cards, and I'm going to pull one card. All right. And when I hold the card up, I want you to intuitively guess what card it is. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and hold the card up, and I want you to guess what card is this card. All right. So I'm going to give you guys a few moments to guess the card. I want you to focus on the card. I want you to focus on the energy of the card. I also want you to see it, feel it, hear it, however it comes to you. And then I want you to tell me what it is. All right. You can put your answer in the comment section if you are watching this podcast from YouTube or in my Patreon. I will go ahead and show you guys the card. Are you ready? All right. The card is the King of Wands. The King of Wands. King of Wands, guys. Let me make it. Yeah, there we go. There we go. All right. So I love this deck. This deck is a very powerful deck. And it is a deck full of women. Even though there are male energy cards in here, the Emperor, the Hierophant, for those that know the original Rider-Waite deck. Um, this deck is all female pictures on the deck. So I love this deck. One of my favorite decks is the Neoteric Feminine Tarot deck. Okay. So if you're interested in purchasing that, you can go to the link in my bio as well. And I have it in my bio so you guys can purchase if you want. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and get ready to end this podcast. I am grateful that you guys stuck it out with me for the past few minutes. And y'all can see I'm trying to get over my nerves and really, really do the podcast and do more podcasts for you guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this podcast, and go ahead and tap into intuition, always remember to tap in, tap in, tap in. All right. Have an amazing day. See you next episode.